Welcome to Beacons of Balance. Thank you for joining us. I'm Arlene. This is Linda, and our guest speaker, Joanne Macko. I want to thank everybody for taking your time. We're very grateful and honored that you're taking your time to be with us and enjoy the show. And this month's topic has been on near-death experience and spirituality. So I'm gonna give a little background on Joanne. So Joanne is a visionary artist and event producer and presenter and author. She's an international artist. Joanne continuously creates new visionary art for the world. Her luminous paintings have been presented to many world leaders, ambassadors, heads of state, former presidents at the United Nations. Joanne has authored 3 books, Surviving Earth School. There's three different ones. And just getting back from her honeymoon in 1980, she was on a major highway with her husband in Ohio. Joanne and her husband, they were hit in their car by a drunk driver. She suffered a major blow to her head and trauma, and her body, police said, she should have never survived that accident.
I knew my life mission. And I always told my mom, I says, Mom, I'm going to be a famous artist or a doctor. So she'd always, like, bless her heart, she would go out and buy all the John Nagy Learn to Draw sets. And all the doctor kits, with the plastic needles and stuff.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I did go to med school at Case, and I learned physiology, anatomy, everything about the body. And then they assign you, in different hospitals, training hospitals, and I passed out in the morgue. And I'm like, screw this is not going. I'm like, and then because it was a low end area where they stuck me in this hospital, you saw everything, oh God, it was like, so I said, you know what? I'm not supposed to be doing this. And look at me now. Fast forward, I'm working on over 6,000 clients at just doing it in a different way, doing it energetically. But it's been a journey. And in 1980, as Arlene mentioned, let's see, I was still living in Ohio then. And I was just finishing up writing my first book, Ohio, You Have Something to Crow About. It was a hardbound book about Ohio's restaurants and inns and recipes that made them famous. And I was coming back from our last interview, and my husband was driving on this Cleveland shoreway, busy shoreway, I might add, on a Friday night when all the drunks are coming in from partying. And out of nowhere, this drunk driver hit us. And we catapulted like 100 feet. It's like, and we had a big car at the time. Those cars from the 70s, they were like built like Sherman tanks, right?
And were you strapped in?
I was strapped in. But the impact was so great. He drove right up the yellow line. And I got the worst of it because I was on the passenger side. And I just remember everything was going in circles and it's like fireworks. And we ended up facing oncoming traffic. I was like, okay, this is the way. It was bad enough, right? But now I'm like, this is going to be the 1-2 punch. This is the way I go out. And I'm like, crap, I just got married. It's the first thing. We just got back. And I waited till I was like 31 before I got married.
Right.
I was even 20 minutes late for my own wedding. I held out to the last biological tick of the time clock,
Wow.
And here I was, it's like they had to cut us out. And I don't remember anything. I just remember being in the emergency ward in the ER on a busy Friday night, and they were cutting my clothes off. And I'm like, all I remember, I'm telling you, I was wearing red silk bikini underwear. And it was embroidered with a ship going down. And it said, don't give up the ship. I'm like, oh my God, whoever worked on me must have had a chuckle that night.
Right.
But yeah, it's like your whole mind you're going crazy because they're poking pins in me and I can't feel anything from my waist down.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, God, I waited this long. Finally, everything's going my way. My first book, I just got married. And here I'm thinking I'm going to be, paralyzed the rest of my life. So 7 years of therapy. The doctors all wanted me to get surgery. I saw the top doctors in New York, and they said, they're looking at my MRIs and they're saying, well, by the time you're 50, you're still going to be in excruciating pain. You'll be lucky if you could walk normal. And there was something that came over me. It's like, oh my God. I grabbed the x-rays off the wall and I said, don't you dare put that out to the universe. And he was like so shocked because he was like on the board in Israel and all over. I'm like, so I kind of knew at the time, it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I got work to do. If I survive that, I have work to do. But the hell was being laid on a backboard, being spoon fed, and the excruciating pain. They had me on 13 meds at one point. And it's like, I couldn't even keep them down. And you get to a point where you're like, screw this. If I'm supposed to die, then I'm going to die. But I am not going to put this crap in my body anymore. And I was only, oh my God, it's now we were in Connecticut at that time. And the pain was so excruciating. I had people coming over, they thought, this is it, and as I lay there, I became the student. I couldn't go anywhere, right? So I was forced to listen to these messages. And these messages were so clear coming in my ear, they were telepathic. And it said, until you learn to forgive this man with your heart and truly mean it, you are never going to heal. And I'm like, what do you mean, heal this man and forgive him? I said, my life is over as I know it. And they gave me, they meaning I perceive them as my guides, my spirit angels. They gave me life lessons one after another that were so profound. And they said, what if, just what if this man was your best friend before you came here to Earth School, and that he loved you so much that he agreed to go through this journey with you so that you could A, learn forgiveness, and B, learn how to heal yourself. And I was
Wow.
mind blown.
Wow.
Like, I started looking at this from a completely different viewpoint. So that's a good lesson, guys. Because we've all been through trauma.
Did he live, by the way?
He was fine because he was so drunk, and there was no drunk driving laws at the time. So he got away, and we got nothing for that. It's like we had a lousy lawyer. Today you get a bump in the head, little, and you get millions. Yeah. So, but it wasn't about the money. It was never about the money with me this whole lifetime. It was about the lessons that I had to learn, and from those lessons, and there were plenty, fast forward, did I ever think that 30 years down the road, I'd be working on all these people that just come in from all over the world so that I could show them how to look at life just a little bit differently so they wouldn't hold on to anger and hatred. And I'm sure you do this for a living. There are some of your clients that refuse to forgive,
and they just, you can't change them, but you can maybe change the way they look at things.
Yeah, you can't change anybody. You cannot change anybody, but us being the way showers, we could give them the tools. I can't heal anybody. Nobody heals.
But non-forgiveness causes a state of resistance.
Oh my God.
And listen, when I finally forgave my father, really forgave him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my whole world just opened up. It's like magic. I had even things I wanted that I sat on never happened, started to happen.
Exactly. That's what happens. So when I start looking at it from the angle that I was shown, that what if this guy was my best friend? What a gift he just gave me. I said, thank you to him. I never met the guy, but I lay there in bed because I couldn't move. And I'm like, thank you, wherever you are, whoever you are, I get it. Thank you. What a gift that you love and cared about me so much. I'm going to get off the club here, but it does. It's like he changed my life, literally.
Yeah. I even think the breast cancer. I got breast cancer and thought my life was over. It's a long story, but I thanked the cancer.
You thank the disease too.
I thank the disease.
You get it. This Earth School, as my guides call it, is a place you come here to learn or teach lessons. Exactly. And sometimes these lessons really suck, as you know.
Oh, they hurt too sometimes.
Oh, it's like, dang.
We're still in the human existence form, so we do cycle through. So I think when we talk about like the forgiveness and everything, we go through, we know because we've experienced it and we know what you do and everything, but then you get hit. I remember specifically when this lesson came to me as far as forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's almost easier to forgive the people that have passed on because they're in spirit. So you could just, we know how to connect with them or write a letter and burn it. But the ones that are still living, that you have to They face to face. And I did this with my first ex. I called him up, even though it wasn't a great divorce, it wasn't like that. And I said, I'll never forget. I forget. And I was ironing. I remember I said, I'll forgive you. I forgive you for what you've done to me and forgive me for what I've done to you. Those were I just made it very simple, right?
Right.
Well, a few days later, he calls me up because the house had just sold. It took like 3 years to sell that house, Joanne, that we had. And he goes, all right, now the divorce had been over for, we were divorced ready over 4 years, right? He goes, all right, now he goes about the furniture and that. I go, what? I go, that was in the divorce decree. That was already settled. You know what I mean? So here I already did the forgiveness process. And then he came back with this and I'm like, but I let it go. And I knew the bottom line. It probably wasn't from him. It was from who he was married to at the time. And I said, I knew it was probably over money. And I said, take what you want. What do you want? I said, have it. I don't care. There, take it.
Look at it, or
And it was done. But I mean, so we do cycle to let everybody know when you do, it's not like you do it or we heal the wounds and or something happens to us major or horrific and we forgive it. But it doesn't mean we forget the things. And as we live our life, those things will come back up. But I think when they come up, we don't etch it in the record. We don't keep going over and over and over. We just let it kind of fly by and let it go.
now do you both, because you're both professionals and you do this for a living, now do you notice when the lessons come up, it just boom,
Yeah.
instead of when we were in our 20s, you'd hang on to
Oh,
that.
yeah, hang on.
Oh, yeah.
How did that serve our giftedness?
You hang
And-
on and you just decide, you pull it apart. You like do a surgery on it. And what did they mean by this? And what does that mean? And what if this happens? Or what, you play all the scenarios and it doesn't.
We're our own worst enemies,
Yeah.
But until you get this, almost everything we mentioned, what I was shown, everything that was taught to us is just, we're living in this illusion. Think of all the beliefs. They said that you come in here with trillions
I know.
of beliefs and passed down from ancestral, genetic.
I know.
Oh my God. And then historic, like because one of you, like, well, Linda, they're showing me that you were in the Trail of Tears. You were on this through Montana. Forgive me, when I'm in your energy space, I'm going to start picking up stuff. I'll even start sketching. I'm going to start sketching your guides as we're talking here. But it just happens now. But anyway, yeah, we had to go through all this, and there's just, oh my gosh. But then when we moved to Connecticut, that's when things really, really lit up for me because I had to get out of a city where there was too much commotion and I couldn't hear my guides, as much as they wanted me to. They put me in Monroe, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Cow town, population 5,000.
That cow town.
No
I'm the cow town
sidewalk.
now.
It was like we're next to 60 acres of woods. And I was well known for painting these historic landmarks. I did shows all up and down the coast. I had a booming business, painting everything the way it looked in the 1700s. And
Wow.
I'm filling an order for this shop in Milford, and I'm getting this message crystal clear in my ear. The order you are working on is not important. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, am I losing it or what? Because, I thought for sure I'm going off the deep end here. And it came through 3 times. The order you are working on is not important. It says, okay, so I stopped. And it's like, I get a call from the shop owner saying, Joanne, this has never happened, but I have to cancel that order. We just lost our lease. So I was like, you get the God bumps.
Yeah.
His voice said, go outside, take your canvas and your paints. And now I'm in the backyard and it said, you are to paint an angel. And I'm like, the hell? I wouldn't know how to paint an angel if you paid me $1 million.
That's because you were around my energy. That's because you were around my energy, Joanne.
Oh my God. But that's why Linda, you cracked me up the other day when you said you were arguing with them. You argue with your guides when they give you these messages.
Yeah.
It's true. I was arguing in my backyard. I'm like, I don't paint angels.
That's like when they told me to do that YouTube channel. I thought I want to get up and brush my hair.
Yeah. We become like whiny little brats. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to. So they said, and then what really freaked me out, they said, put your brushes down. You were to paint these with your bare hands. And I'm like, what? I get these fat hands. And they said, look around you, child. Your backyard is your toolbox. So I'm picking up dried daylily stems, twigs, and I started applying everything first with my fingers, like I was back in, kindergarten. And then for detail, I start seeing these images appearing on the canvas. And then to get the detail, I use the flower stems, twigs for finite detail. And what came out in the course of the day was Guardian Angel, the first one I ever did. And I was like, oh my God, who did this? Because it's like, it was like, I couldn't even put it into words. And when I'd walk left to right, looking at this painting, it changed color. She'd go from blonde hair to like reddish brown. And I called Arlene up because Arlene, you had your shop at the time, and I told you what happened. And you arranged for someone to come into your shop to interview me from Hartford. I forget. It's been so long now.
Well, yeah, we always connected. I get people connected.
Yeah, and it's like I was doing the interview in your shop, and that's when that girl, you had a big picture window, and she stopped and she saw it. She came in and she started crying in front of it. And then the mother comes in right after and said, what's going on? And this girl said, I don't know. I'm losing it here. I don't know why I'm acting like this in front of this painting. And the mother said to Arlene, how much is this? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even have it professionally photographed, nothing. It's my first one. And I think, Arlene, you said $3,000, and she just gives you the credit card. It was like, what the just happened?
Yeah, $3,000, I said.
$3,000, okay.
And she paid 3,000?
Yeah.
Just like that. But it happened so fast, I didn't have time to think. It was just like, what just happened?
And I put my colored J.C. Penney double wide underwears up for bid, and nobody gave a dime. I didn't get no 3Gs.
Give them to me, Linda. Give them to me. I'll sell them for you.
Oh my God. Arlene can sell an Eskimo and icebox. I swear to God. You want something, just give it to her. Stuff here you could sell for me. I'm not kidding. I have no good places, forget it. So yeah, it was just one thing after another. And I took up tennis, for therapy. I sucked at tennis. I didn't even know how to hold a racket. But we had one of the best tennis courts down the street, and they trained all the Olympians and everything. They were like really good. So fast forward, I'm playing tennis and I'm getting better and better. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm getting this message again in my ear. You're going to be in the championships. What are you talking about?
Of tennis?
Tennis. Like, I didn't know what a racket was. I had no clue, and a couple years down the road, after practicing, I got on a team and we played, and I was playing doubles, and we won the state championship. I was making shots like, where is this coming from? It was almost like somebody took over my hand.
I'll tell you, that's exciting.
Then they said, no, it's going to get better. Just pay attention. It's going to get better. Well, now we're in nationals, and we're out in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was 102, and we were playing all day long, and we were up against the best in all the United States. Okay. And we blew through all of California, and that's a big state, right? So these people have been doing this. We had to play against Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, the Bahamas. We blew them out of the water, and they were like mean. I mean, they were like, oh my God, we watched them and we were terrified. But we ended up third out of 20,000 women. And when we were done and we got our trophy, my guides, the message came back and said, okay, that was your test of faith. Now,
Oh my goodness.
put your racket down. It's time to do God's work. And
That's what happened with me. They told me you're going to do this, and I was like, nah. And then look what they did.
Here we are, the nah. I don't do that. Nah, we're arguing every.
Are you still with the husband that you were in the wreck with?
Yes, believe it or not. What is that? 40 something years.
Isn't that amazing?
And we're opposite we are as different as night and day.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to know anything about this spirituality. He's, if you're going to see angels in the clouds, yeah. But he's an engineer and he's got to see it to believe it. So, yeah. But yeah, we ended up third out of 20,000. And then.
So you drew that angel behind you on the wall there?
Yeah, Raphael.
That's Raphael. I have that in my bedroom.
Just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
There's hundreds of paintings. I mean, my house looks like a.
And Joanne was one of the first ones. She was given the message to use crystals and stones, and she would crush them. And that's why her artwork is called luminescence, because she would crush them and actually paint them in and put them in. Oh my, they're gorgeous.
Oh, wow. But you've written a book. Have you written more than one book or?
3, well, the first one that I did in Ohio, I did 4 books, and then I just finished my 5th. I'm doing one for like the younger.
I'm going to start ordering your book so I can go through this.
Called Amelia. The one I just finished is Amelia Blue.
Okay.
The first one, if you want a good laugh, oh my God.
I'll start with that one.
This is the first
Surviving.
one. Now,
Do you
Amazon-
have this on audio?
No, I didn't do audio.
Okay.
Probably should.
I'll order it on Amazon.
Amazon might be sold out right now because there's a run on this book, and it's like, but they have plenty of 2 and 3. So yeah, it's been one thing after another.
It's amazing. I love it.
And they said humor is key, and you know this, Linda. You know, and
Girl, that's the only thing that got me through this world was a good laugh.
that's why we're such goofballs now. You know, we can take anything seriously. And you've been through it all. Arlene's been through it all. And now we could look at something like, oh my God.
Yeah.
A lot of times we
Well,
just,
they have a good sense of humor over there too.
yeah,
Oh
we
my-
just, yeah, we connect and just laugh.
For sure.
Right.
And then the lessons, they have thrown more roadblocks in my path. It's almost like, yeah, let's just see what this girl's made out of. Like, can she handle this? So get this, I get this call from California out of the blue. And this girl is opening up an angel shop in the burbs of San Francisco. And she says, Joanne, she goes, we're looking for this artist because we're opening a grand opening, red carpet, and we saw you when we knew you were the girl. So they hired one of the top people in New York to come in and custom create all my art. And mind you, I got this 8-foot painting, you know, that was in all these originals. And they were making metal boxes, and it cost them a fortune. They shipped it over. I'm at the grand opening, and it's like they were treating me like I was Madonna. It was like every top hotel, every 5 minutes there'd be a knock on the door. Here's your masseuse. Here's the nail people. Here's a ball gown rental. I'm like, what the? It was like so bizarre. And I get there, and it's the grand opening, champagne, and you know, it was like limos out the wazoo. And they wanted me to auction off the 8-foot painting for $300,000. And I'm like, my guide said, don't you do it, girly. It's like, you are not to sell the originals ever. Because
Except I did.
one day they'll be in the museum. Yeah, Arlene did it. Karma's on you, baby. No. Anyway.
Were they mad at you that you didn't allow them to do that?
No, because I have lithographs made of everything. So I sell
Okay.
I sell everything in lithograph form. But something wasn't sitting right. You know when you get that, like, something stinks in here. I can't.
Yeah, I don't like being fussed over either, because you know, when they told me I was going to do the YouTube video and I fought with them, and then they said, you will help calm them down. And their last words were, if your ego gets in the way, we'll remove your gift.
They said the same thing to me. Exactly. It's not
So
about
you try not to get involved in anything.
Yeah,
You're special
exactly.
because you're not. Yeah.
It's like the way I look at this, it's not my art. This is God's art. I am the vessel.
Yeah, I am the vehicle. Yeah.
And they said,
That's what we had with all of us, like the store too, when I had angels. It wasn't mine. I said I was just the
not
caretaker.
yours.
I was just the conduit to and everybody felt that for 10 years that was coming in and out.
So listen to this. So I think this lady comes in. Now I'm in California. I don't know any of these people out there. One of them there were some movie stars out there, and a lady came in. She says, Spirit told me to come in here. I'm to meet you, and I'm to take your art to the children of Medjugorje, the ones that have Mother Mary appearing to them. So that came from that visit. But I was all done, right? I flew home. I'm in Connecticut, and the same lady that was drawn to come in that store that took my work to Medjugorje, she goes, Joanne, I hope you're sitting down. I'm like, what? Now, mind you, I'm waiting for them to ship all my artwork back. She goes, there has been something terrible that happened here. And the lady, her mother, the owner's mother, has been arrested for embezzling $5 million from a big university. That's how she was able to spend all this money on you. I don't know. I'm afraid you're going to lose all your artwork. I'm like,
They might hold it, right?
I'm thinking, oh my God, these are originals. You know, I mean, I put so much into these at that point. And I'm
But the angels wouldn't let that happen, right?
out. Well, the lady that was going to, you know, this lady that lived there that was going to Medjugorje, she says, let me call my friend. He was a painter of the big mansions in San Francisco. They call them the lovely ladies, you know. And he went, total stranger, mind you, I never met the guy, knocked door to door on all the corporations and got aluminum, metal, screws, foam. And he got all of those paintings out and boxed them and got them shipped out. And the very next day, the police came and put the yellow crime scene.
They would have sold your paintings to make up for what she did, even though she technically wasn't the owner, but
Oh my God. I mean, but this is the way they operate.
yeah,
When it's God's work, I don't know. There's
they
been
make
so
it
many
happen.
stories like that. You know, it's like that's why I knew I had to write the books because it was crazy stories, one after another after another. And that's like, well, somebody's protecting
Well,
us.
they told me to write a book too. I just finished it. It'll be
Oh, you
released in
did?
March. But
Oh,
let me tell you, you know, I just do what they say because I have to believe.
yeah.
They were right about the YouTube and it seems to help people. So I
Mhm.
guess if this book helps a few people, that'll be good.
Exactly. And don't worry about where the money's coming from or how it's going to get out there.
No,
'Cause
I don't.
when it's not about you, Linda,
I'm self-publishing, you know, I have somebody helping me with all that, but
I was going to say self-published because the publishing industry has changed a lot, a lot.
oh, it's
But,
crazy. They're charging $3,000-4,000 just to look at it.
oh yeah, exactly. You could spend 20,000 on a book without
Yeah.
even, you know. But and then the other thing that happened was I had just finished World Peace Angel, and my guides were saying that this will be seen in front of 20 nations, and you will be presenting this in front of world leaders. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. You know, I'm in this little farm town. Well, I finished it, and I knew I had to get it to. The first thing I thought of in my human brain was the United Nations, right? So I just called on my angels and I put an angel on each corner of the painting and I shipped it off to the UN. First I called them, of course. And the first thing I did was call the gift shop. Okay, that makes sense, right? Gift shop. And he hung up on me. He goes, this is a religious item. You'll offend many. And he just, and then I heard the voice that you get right back on that phone and don't you dare take no for an answer. I was like, oh God. And then I got this girl, Rosemary, and she says, look, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but send it. And then I shipped it off and Arlene and I flew down to Orlando. That's when we went to that spiritual conference, Arlene, you know, in Raymond Moody.
What happened?
So anyway, I get back from the Florida trip with Arlene, check the mailbox, and it says official business, United Nations, you know, the raised thermographic, like really like serious stuff. I open it up, it's a personalized letter from Madeleine Albright. Now, at the time, it didn't get any higher than that. You know how many people are at the UN?
Yes.
And she writes to me, and it was in the middle of a crisis. She was on TV that whole week because a plane went down, and she was involved in something with that. And she basically said, I was presented with your World Peace Angel by the chief of protocol, and I hung it on the outside of my office for all the world and visitors to see.
Oh my goodness.
OMG. Then shortly after I get a call from the president of the World Citizen Diplomats, and she says, Joanne, she goes, there's going to be a special event at the United Nations to honor the former president of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Carazo, and it was Amelia de Barish was his then ambassador to Costa Rica. And she said, do you have any large paintings? Well, I had just finished this 8-foot painting. And I was like, oh my God. And the guides told me, you are to make this painting X amount of inches across, feet, and not to go not one toothpick wider. Well, it fit in my van when you took all the seats out.
Oh,
And I called Arlene and
Remember, you didn't have a car. You didn't know if it was going to fit in the car. Didn't you get a car after?
I had that green van at the time.
Yeah. And she called me and she said, because Joanne doesn't drive, she goes, I'm not driving into New York. And I said to her, what are you, crazy? I said, you have to go to this. I said,
They asked me
I'll
if I wanted to
drive.
come down for a photo shoot with Madeline Albright and to bring the painting. And you know, I made this lame excuse that I couldn't go. And that's when Arlene became Arlene. You know, she went, what the hell are you crazy? I'll close the shop. You're
Did you
taking
get that piece painting back, or is that permanently at the United Nations?
it was used as a backdrop for this event.
So we got it in your
If it wasn't
car.
for Arlene, oh my God, that's why I love you so much. I would have never, she said, no, we're going, I'll close the shop and I'll drive. And remember how hard it was just trying to find a parking space?
There was-
I had the
we
stogie,
couldn't get a parking garage. Remember?
mafia,
Was that
like,
big van?
yeah, get that thing out of here. You're not putting it in my garage.
Cigar guy, yeah.
Yeah, I says, look, I've got a meeting with Madeline Albright. I gotta get in there now. I said,
Yeah.
I'll get here. So, but anyway, we hauled this thing. It was like Laurel and Hardy, right? Going down the street. We're like, what? Turn a corner and you wipe out 10 people.
Linda, it's 8 feet long, and the
8
wind
feet wide.
was blowing.
4 feet
And
wide.
it was billowing. It was going to take us off like a hot air balloon.
Oh my God, we were laughing so hard. I thought we were gonna die. I mean, this is us. This is our life story, right, Arlene?
Oh my God.
And then we were in that. We finally got it up, and he did his speech. Rodrigo, when he walked in, he looked. Oh my God, he's a light worker. It was a beautiful aura coming off of him. He donated a lot of his personal property to Costa Rica for a peace museum. But okay, we're sitting in the audience, and all of a sudden it's like we go out to lunch and come back, and they put my nameplate on the with all these dignitaries on the stage. And the president of the world citizen diplomat says, you're going to go up there and you're going to tell your story. I'm like, what? Like, this is the UN. Are you crazy? So now I'm sitting at the table looking out at the audience, and I'm flanked by these dignitaries. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm like, okay, God has a sense of humor, right? So I'm like, almost like laughing to myself. Like, I have no idea. What am I supposed to talk about? And she poked me in the ribs and she said, you're next. And wake them up. So now I just did an Oprah. I mean, I pulled out the microphone. I'm walking around and I'm like, who here believes in angels? And everybody just stand up. It's like, this is like
That monk was in the audience, the monk.
Arlene and I shook the whole place up. But the whole time when I was up there was this lama. He looked like, oh my God, the bald head, like Mr. Clean, you know, the orange robe with the wooden beads. And he never took his eyes off of me during my speech. And he just like, it was like laser. He never blinked. And when I was done, he gets up and goes in the aisle, you know, that was direct, you know, opposite of me, like, you know, from the stage. And he bowed to me. And I was like, who is this guy? And
Did you throw some loose change at him, or?
Jesus. And then when I asked who it was, he was Lama Gangchen. He was like the head of the World Peace Federation. He's like one of the oldest Tibetan original monks, and the monks doctor to all the royalty queens and kings in India. And he's the one that brought spirituality so you could meditate at the UN. And anyway, I just found out he died, Arlene. Yeah, COVID 2020 in Italy.
Wow. Yeah, well, Thich Nhat Hanh had died too.
Yeah, it's like the great.
I met him. Yeah.
It's oh my God, just so many stories.
So tell us a couple. I mean, you had other episodes because this is about NDEs where you had flatlined, or you had your cardiac events happening with your
others with
it was on Good Friday.
I just read a story just days ago. I was like a psychiatric PhD, and she said you do not have to go through the tunnel in order to have an NDE, which I thought that's interesting. If you have a major blow to the head or trauma, like a lot of these children are beaten, you know, in their early, you know, when they're little, she says a lot of those are the people that start seeing angels. I was like, oh.
No, you don't have to flatline. But there's different things. There's out of body experience. You don't have to flatline. And now I just heard from this, I was talking about this Dr. Scott Taylor. There's shared NDs. There's shared NDs. If you're around a bed with somebody that you love, whatever, and they're going and you're open to that, you could go with them. Go, but you don't go all the way. He explains it like going to the airport and you go through TSA, but you don't get on the plane. You go to part of the way.
Yeah. Well, I was doing out of body. I'd be laying in bed and all of a sudden, and Linda, do you leave your body?
No.
Like,
I used to, but I got scared and I asked them not to do that anymore.
I got scared too. Well,
Because I went through the roof and I could feel the cold air. But what would happen right before I'd leave? Because that was in the days of Shirley MacLaine and she talked about it. And I thought, well, I may try. And as I rested, the whole bed started to shake.
oh,
Like
wow.
it was an earthquake, but it was me going out of my body.
Oh man. So what would happen with me, and that's why I was going to ask you if this happened to you, when I'm laying in bed, I hear a certain tone. And I wish to God I knew what that tone was. But it's
I think it's the
whenever I
tone,
hear
like
it,
it's a vibrational energy that's on the other realm, in the other realm. Because when I was 8 years old, I had a visit with Jesus. And I didn't even know who he was. But when I went there, it was beautiful, but there was a tone. It was a weird tone.
And I wish to God I had my son's equipment because he's a musician to know what that tone was. Because he'll tell you.
It's probably one that you can't, there's probably nothing to match it.
It's only matched in heaven.
It's in a different vibe. It's in a different.
But when that tone would go off in my left ear, I thought, oh, geez, I'm going to take off. And sure enough, I'd start lifting up. And I noticed if I put pressure on my feet, it would be like being on a carpet. You know, I would tilt forward. And if I put pressure on my shoulders, I'd tilt back.
Do you still go or did you say I'm done with this?
Oh, because what they showed me, they said, you don't want to go playing out there.
Yeah, I just didn't like that feeling. And I was afraid. So you can't go in afraid because then the negative will hit you.
But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out why these almost near-death accidents keep coming to me. Just recently, 2018, I was doing a big spiritual show out in Phoenix, and I drove all the way across country. I'm finally only an hour away from home, and we're on this freeway. I'm like, oh God, thank God I'll be home like in a half hour, 40 minutes. And John's driving, I'm the passenger. And those 9-car haulers, those big haulers, that solid steel, starts coming into our lane like he didn't see us. And all of a sudden it was like an explosion of metal. And he ripped all the metal came off the side of our van. And the only thing between me and this truck was a paper thin piece of plastic.
Oh my God.
And there was no place to go because it had the stanchions, on one side. So that we were wedged. I couldn't get out of the car and the truck kept going and not one person stopped. Not one person stopped. And it's like, this is where I talk about the power of prayer. Oh my God.
You just started praying right away?
When I got on,
they were there helping to keep you from being killed in this crash.
They said somebody had to put their hand and save you from that, because I'm not exaggerating, a quarter of an inch, I'd be like squash. And I got on, something told me just get on Facebook to all my friends. And I told them what happened and they start sending me light and prayers. And I could literally feel them coming in like ribbons of light. And that's what got me through. So anybody out there, do not underestimate the power of prayer. Oh my God.
It works. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And the angels said from their advantage up there, it looks like ribbons of light streaming up to them. And it's like, oh my God. So yeah, power of prayer is.
So you're not finished yet. We're here. All of us are here.
My God.
We're going to be here for we want to know we want to know the grand finale.
I don't know if I want to know, Arlene.
Huh?
I don't know if I want to know. I just hope it's not in a horrible,
car
thing where you're.
Well, no, this is
what happened with me with breast cancer is when I handed my life over because I was begging to live because my kids were still young. I had no breast, no hair, walking down a path, and I said, "Please don't let me die." And the man said in my ear, as clear as day, "There's no such thing as death."
We know
and
that.
I felt foolish, and I handed my life over. Into thy hands I commenced my spirit. And something profound happened to me. But from that moment on, I knew it doesn't matter if I'm alive or dead, it all works out.
Exactly. I mean, nobody wants to go home. I don't know how you feel, you guys, but don't you feel like I'm having too much fun here? Yeah, there's still things I have to
I know. Like
no,
we have now I was meant to do.
We have stuff to do. But I said for many years, and I've told you this, Joanne, before, I said, I just, because we know we've been back and forth many times. I don't want to go through a horrific, I'm not going to be laying there for months anyways, if you have to cross over. So I said, now I don't want to go through that process. So I want, like they said in biblical times, right? And what did Christ say? He said, you shall do this and greater than I. And I always say, I want to know how to change the water to wine. But I also want, remember the clouds used to come down and they would lift people up like Star Trek into the, that's what I send down the cloud. We'll walk on the cloud and we'll just go, whoof.
Arlene and I always laughed. We always thought, we were the ones that were up there drinking dirty martinis. Scott probably asked for volunteers and everybody stepped back.
Yeah, we stumbled forward.
Yahoos that
There you go.
Then we went, what the hell?
we got off on the wrong elevator, honey. So one thing I'm going to throw this on both of you. What have you noticed with NDEers, how they're different after that NDE? Because they're not the same.
They have a glow to them. They have a glow to them.
And what else?
There's a piece
They're
around the
awake.
continents. They show
They're
off
awake.
huh?
You're awake.
Away.
They're
Yeah.
Don't you appreciate everything? I could stare into a face of a flower for
Yes. Yep.
the
Yeah.
whole universe
Wait.
there.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
being awake.
easier, it's quicker to forgive people now. You have more patience.
Yeah.
Now you realize
Yeah.
this is probably a blessing in disguise, so knock it off, Joanne.
Yeah.
Right?
Except
it's
when we've had that cough for 6 months or 8
Oh,
months.
geez.
Oh,
Well, you know
God.
what? And you said this to me, Arlene, because I go 200 miles an hour with my hair on fire, and I don't know how to sit my ass down for 5 minutes. It's like, you do too much, Joanne. That's the angels are just telling you to sit on your, you know what? And it's like, however they need to do it, they'll do it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard for them if we're all constantly in motion,
Exactly.
I
And
find
they'll
I
stop- they
start
stop
feeling
you.
tired because I do too much too. Readings and shows
I
and,
know, you're
I
constantly
start
seeing
noticing I
clients
get tired.
and then shipping artwork out and writing books and got to write the next book and oh my, but don't you feel like that's all part of the like, oh my God, I have to get this done? Because you don't,
Yeah.
you're going to go home and you feel
Yeah.
like there's so much more I could do to help humanity. Because
Yeah.
it's no longer, the focus is no longer on you, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Now it's about, I got to do this for humanity.
But
And-
as they say here, if we touch one soul in this lifetime,
Yeah.
it's magnified. So all of us, we're going to be up there. I have my castle. Well, I have a big, it's a fieldstone big castle, and you're going to hear music playing. So just come to it, and it's going to be just a big party.
A big party.
We need to set a date right now. So in the future, we all meet.
Yeah. But don't forget to serve snacks.
Oh my God, we're going to have whatever you want. So Joanne, so we're finishing up because this is about balance. So what would out of all the experiences, your balance message be on this?
Well, whatever you do, especially because there's a lot of people that do energy work out there, facilitator. You can only keep giving and giving and giving so much. You've got to give back to yourself. So go for that massage, go for that energy work, go for whatever makes you feel like the little princess for the day, the queen for a day. Remember, you've got to balance it out. You can't just keep giving.
Daniel Brinkley had told me this one when I was at a workshop. It's the infinity symbol. He said, the number 8 is the infinity.
Yeah.
So when he's with people, like if you're with this, you see that image of the infinity going back and forth and around.
Yeah.
And it's giving back and forth.
Exactly.
So
And when we're
instead of
having a bad day, Arlene and I know to call each other up and we laugh till we almost.
Yeah, that helps. That helps.
So
Yeah.
Well, it was a
find
delight
out-
meeting you, Joanne.
Oh my God, this was such
You're
an honor.
just a doll. Yeah. And
Oh
you
my
glow,
God.
you glow, girlfriend, with the light.
Oh, and so I'm just so glad we finally got to meet, and I honor both of you for doing this show and everything you do over there. My God, we need more light workers in the world. So
Thank
Thank
you.
you, honey. And Linda, what do you say?
Oh, be the change you want to see.
That's right. And from our hearts to your hearts, everybody out there, we love you. Enjoy, love, peace. If you have inner peace, you have it all. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Please subscribe. Oh, Joanne will put for all the people that have been on, we'll put your information, your website and everything will be on there, where to contact you for your artwork and your books and that. Okay.
thank you so
All right.
much. I love you
Thank you,
guys.
sweetie.
Love you guys.
Thank you. I'm going to order your book.
Cool.
Take care.
Okay,
Thank you, babes.
bye.